And now to a decision from the EPA being praised. $1 million is headed to the Turtle Mountain tribe to help clean up what's left of the abandoned San Haven Sanitarium in Dunseith. The money is part of a series of Brownsfield grants and awards to North Dakota communities announced by the EPA today. That site served as a tuberculosis sanitarium and state hospital for much of the 20th century, but it stood abandoned now for several years. The structure contains hazardous chemicals and it's been vandalized over time. Turtle Mountain Chairman Jamie Azure praising the announcement today, adding, "San Haven is one of our most critical safety and environmental hazards. We look forward to cleaning this challenging property and reusing it as a heritage park in the near future." Now, 3 communities in McKenzie County as well as Fargo also received Brownsfield grants for cleanup projects.